Many loyal Dice Commander followers ask the question, Andrew, what's your much-loved Kassai list look like with the Skirmish 7 sideboard rules? Well, no way am I giving up my list going into Skirmish season, but I do have some pretty strong opinions on what those new flex slots should look like in Kassai. A huge shout out to our channel members for supporting what we do here. If you want to get involved with the channel and the Dice Commando community, please consider joining as a channel member. Remember, these videos are only possible with your support. You can show that support with a like, a subscribe, and by leaving us a comment and sharing your feedback. Community first, and go Commando. Hey there, flesh and blood friends, how's it going? Welcome back to Dice Commando. Go again, a fabulous cast. Thanks for checking in for today's chat on sideboarding Kassai under the new Skirmish Season 7 rules, experimental rules, whatever it may be. Now, just catching everybody up to speed so we're all on the same page. What they're doing for Skirmish Season 7 is they are allowing you to essentially have cards in what was previously just your loadout. Furthermore, they're adding an additional overall slot because the hero is no longer considered to be part of that 52 card deck. So now effectively you have a 53 card deck if you want to count the hero, however you want to do it. But that gives us one extra slot than we had previously. Plus, for those heroes that don't need the positions in there, what was formerly known as the loadout, what we'll now kind of refer to as the sideboard, you now have extra card slots, and you still have to sit down with a minimum 40 card deck, but you can actually sit down with more if you so choose. Probably in most cases you're not, but it could come up, and it could make fatigue, it gives fatigue an advantage. Let's just be honest with it. Right, so let's talk about this specifically. In the case of Kassai, I've had several people reach out over the last 2 weeks or so and kind of ask me for my opinion on it, which is awesome. I'd love to talk about Kassai, as you all well know. So let's really talk about the current, we call it POR, it's kind of a work term, process of record, but the current deck that we have today. So my current deck today uses a full loadout, because why wouldn't you? But I don't really need all of those slots. Okay, and then I also am playing Yellow Raging Onslaught. I'm playing 2 copies of those. That is a card I love a lot. It's a really good card in a non-sideboard format because it can serve multiple purposes. It can pitch yellow, which is what Kassai wants. It defends for 3, and it's also a popper. So that's, I think, the better popper to run. But if you aren't right, if you're not in the right matchups, it's not as good. You can, and that's where the sideboarding thing comes in. And I also run more blues than I would like because Kano's a thing, as many of you are aware. So there's effectively, and those 2 blues, they're not worthless to me, but they could be something else. So effectively in my current 40 card deck, I have 4 flex slots. And then if we go, I'll go ahead and throw up the loadout right now. So this is my current loadout. You can see I have 11 in there, which is what you have room for. I'm running Refraction Bolters and Gallantry Gold. Those do serve, there are a couple matchups in which I do run those in. Gallantry Gold, even less and less and less. Refraction Bolters, there is a matchup or 2 that I'll run those in. But that's basically getting cute depending on if I know the player or not. So if we're realistic about this, we don't need those 2 cards. Okay, so let's put this all together then, right? We have the 4 slots from the current main deck, and then we have 2 loadout slots. I can't really see going lower on the loadout. So that really gives us overall 6 slots, right? And then we get the hero card. So now we actually have 7 cards, right? So that's interesting. So we can add 7 cards. We can't really add 7 cards, but it gives us 7 flex slots. So let's talk about that. Now, let's go ahead and go into the Raging Onslaught discussion first. And I've sung the praise of that many, many times on here, but we no longer really need this card, right? The reason that we're running Raging Onslaught is because it doesn't do anything great, but it does a lot of things just fine for what we want it to do. But again, that's out. It's out. Okay, I don't see a reason to play that anymore. Obviously, the 2 equipment that I showed X, like we don't need those, so those are out. So that's 4 easy slots. Now, another interesting thing about this deck is something that has been very popular in Kassai, kind of in the Wayback Machine, but I'd rotate out of my deck is a card called Nourishing Emptiness, right? Nourishing Emptiness, very familiar to a lot of warriors. It's generally the only attack action you play. It comes in, it can close out games, can get you extra cards. Fantastic card, but if you're playing, right, in this case, like Raging Onslaughts, it didn't make sense. So I had taken it out. You only want to run 1 of those, but I think this card comes back in, and it serves as a popper, right? And then we could potentially have 2 other poppers in my head here to, again, backfill for the popper slots of Raging Onslaught. I think, again, I'm not a fan of the fact that drone exists in the format, but it's there. So I think the right thing to do there is backfill that with red drones, because then they keep coming back. So that actually gives you 3+ poppers in the right match. And then you can sideboard out. Interestingly enough, drone does not go to your discard, so actually nourishing can actually still work with it. But I think in the right match, I think in most matchups you'd just be running nourishing, because you want those other slots. Right, so that's where I'm at in terms of kind of the replacement there. Now, when I really start thinking about what I want to do with those blues, right? The blues are great. They pay for things, but functionally I'm running a little higher than I think I need to, which means I'm sacrificing damage output. So the obvious include here is Oasis Respite, right? Oasis Respite, I think, automatically backfills the 2 equipment slots, for lack of a better term. And then now we're asking the question, do we really need the blues? I think yes, with how prevalent Kano is and the fact that we can again swap them out. Now, what I'm on the fence on, and I really want to see kind of how skirmish season goes, I'm actually debating running blue drone. And the reason I am debating running blue drone is because it gives you a little extra in the fatigue matchups, right? Because sometimes, like, again, Nourishing Riptide's a thing. There's other fatigue decks out there. I think that's a fair call, but I haven't really gotten enough reps with it. So if you are at least considering sideboarding, in this case, blue drone, I'd love to hear your feedback or your thoughts on that as well. All right, so again, we've got 2 equipment out, 2 Raging Onslaughts out, and then the additional for the hero slot. So we're Oasis Respite in, Red Drone in, Nourishing in. That's our 5 cards. And then we have those blue slots. So depending on which way you want to go, you can either run more aggressive with like a yellow Outland Skirmish or something like that. Maybe even you run some sort of react or something like that. I do think you want it to be a yellow, though. I'm pretty positive you want it to be a yellow to kind of maintain that pitch curve, but then again, up your output just that tiniest little bit. If you are running, if you want to get cute, we do have Morlock Hill is an interesting card, at least in theory, against Kano, right? Because they ding you and then, hey, there's lethal, bye-bye Mentor. But I think that gets weird because then I think you have to run probably 2 Mentors, and I think it's just a little too cute, but when it works, it could work. So you could play around with that, right? I mean, it's blue, it defends well, does its thing. So it doesn't necessarily defend as well, right? But I mean, not better than like blue shunt or something like that. I'm just putting in perspective. But if the reason you're playing it is to save you the game, right, then that's essentially a silver bullet call, and I completely respect that. So with the exception of kind of those flex slots to fit your personal playstyle and what you want to do and how your deck works, I think that's basically the breakdown, and that's really where my head is overall, right? Some of it's very, very, very straightforward. We don't need the equipment +2. Raging Onslaught serves no purpose when you can actually specialize more. And then Oasis Respite, I think we have to run that. And if we're going to run, I mean, sure, you could run Command and Conquer or something like that, but I think the drone Nourishing thing's kind of cute. And I think running Nourishing, which I've got 1 slot, just push forward. I have 1 push forward in my deck. I'm probably going to be taking push forward out, or maybe moving push forward around in a flex slot for Nourishing. I'll have to see how the actual math on that works out because push forward is pretty good too. Nice little dominate to close, but again, they're kind of doing very similar things. So anyway, that is my take overall on the sideboarding. I want to wish everyone Skirmish. For some of us, Skirmish Season 7 is starting probably like right now, depending on where you are in the globe. I mean, interesting 3 weeks. Cast coming out tomorrow, kind of looking at points projections and really getting us ramped up and geared for that. So look forward to that cast coming tomorrow. Just wanted to get this out kind of before the weekend, giving my thoughts. So anyway, folks, that'll do it. I want to thank you for checking in. Go Kassai, /Sabers, baby, and go Commando.